What's up, football world? I am Bucky Brooks, and this is the Bucky Brooks Show, the show where we take on all things NFL. And this week, I'm really excited to talk about some of the prominent players that have been in the news because their contracts are coming up. The most notable would be Micah Parsons. And the first topic out the gate, I want to talk about Micah Parsons being the next $40 million player to hit our league. And to think about Micah Parsons and to think about that number, $40 million, I have to get you to understand that it was just a few years ago where we talk about quarterback money reaching the 30, then $40 million mark. And now we're talking about another player, Micah Parsons, a three-time All-Pro, breaking that barrier that's been established by Myles Garrett this offseason. Early in the offseason, Myles Garrett signed a 4-year, $160 million extension that rewarded him for being a Defensive Player of the Year, being an all-time sack rate, all of those things. Well, Micah Parsons' contract is on the horizon, and he has to get a deal done for the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys have to retain a core player, someone who's been a dominant player for them, someone who is really the pillar of their defense. The problem that you have is, does Jerry Jones want to pay Micah Parsons this kind of money, regardless of what the stats are? Does he want to open the bank, open the wallet, and pay him what he's worth? He's talked about, I don't know, I'm going to try and do this deal. I don't know who his agent is, and all of these things to put out there to try and bring the price down. But what we should know is Micah Parsons, through 4 years, has already proven to be an all-time great. When we look at the stat line suggests that he should be in the upper echelon of pay, if not the highest paid defender on the field, based on the fact that he has 52.5 sacks. He has 63 tackles for loss. He has 112 quarterback hits, 9 forced fumbles, and 4 seasons of play. Every year that Micah Parsons has been in the league, he's had double-digit sacks. He's been an impactful player. He's been a dominant player, and he's done it in a unique fashion because Micah Parsons entered the league as an off-ball linebacker who has become maybe the most disruptive hybrid player that we've seen. And when I mean hybrid, I mean a guy who is able to play inside linebacker on early downs, go to a defensive end whenever he feels like it, and go make plays on the quarterback. When we think about the guys that get paid in this league, it's about passers, it's about playmakers, and it's about pass rushers. And when you look at Micah Parsons, he checks off 2 of those boxes as a pass rusher who is an ultimate playmaker at the position. What you have in the Cowboys is you have to make a decision on, when we pay big money to Micah Parsons, how do we build out the rest of the team? More importantly, how do we build out the rest of this defense? You have big money contracts that are already allotted to Dak Prescott, which you need, CeeDee Lamb, which you have to have, because remember, we talk about passers, playmakers, pass rushers. Those are the guys that get paid. Well, those guys are worthy of getting paid. On defense, yeah, you're paying Trayvon Diggs, but Trayvon Diggs cannot play at a high level without Micah Parsons doing his thing. And if we're going to weigh the value between a pass rusher and a defensive playmaker, the pass rusher is going to win out. And because Micah Parsons is so special in terms of what he does, how he impacts the game, this should be a no-brainer for the Dallas Cowboys. But we've seen this happen before. Jerry Jones has been slow and late to the party when it comes to paying his stars. Took him a long time to pay Dak Prescott. Took him a long time to pay CeeDee Lamb. Really, everyone that has come up that is young and a budding superstar, man, it's been hard for them to get their money. I would say this, and I'm going to encourage Jerry Jones, man, pay the man now because the price is only going to go up. I do not foresee Micah Parsons falling off, and even with an injury, you still have to pay him for what he's been able to do. It is in the best interest of the Cowboys to get this done now before the price tag goes up, but to also help them set the table for how they're going to handle the contracts that are on the horizon. George Pickens, who you traded for, is going to play this year out, and then he is going to want a big deal if he puts up the kind of numbers that we anticipate him putting up alongside CeeDee Lamb. You have to do another Dak Prescott correction because his deal is going to come up, and you need to kind of reestablish how you're going to pay him, because the way that you pay the quarterback sets the table for the way that you pay everybody else. That is why this deal needs to get done ASAP for the Dallas Cowboys. They may not operate under that urgency, but if you look at any elite executive, any elite team builder, you want to make sure you know who are my core players going to be for the next 3 to 4 years. Now that we know what that is, now we can figure out how to allocate the rest of the money to make sure that the stars have enough supporting players to be able to operate at the high level going forward. This is a team that always claims that they are Super Bowl contenders, that they're title ready, but they're in a division where right now, just on talent, they're the third best team in the division. Think about the Philadelphia Eagles and what they've done. The Washington Commanders coming off a playoff season, a season in which they reached the NFC Championship game with Jaden Daniels operating, and now he has a better supporting cast around him with Deebo Samuel and others joining him. The Cowboys have to make this happen, not only to stay relevant, but to keep pace with two teams that are looking like they're going to be title contenders for the foreseeable future. So, Jerry Jones, I'm asking you, no, Jerry Jones, I'm pleading with you. Make sure you drop the bag off to Micah Parsons. He not only deserves it, but he's your best player. You need to pay him as such. Next up, let's talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh Steelers have been in the headlines the entire offseason. A lot of conversation about who is going to be their quarterback. Is Aaron Rodgers coming? They need Aaron Rodgers, yada, yada, yada. But I'm here to tell you, the question should be, can the Steelers win big with Mason Rudolph? And the reason why that should be the question is because I Bleav that's how the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to enter the season, with Mason Rudolph at quarterback. And before you laugh at that possibility, because Mason Rudolph, third-round pick in 2018, a bit of a journeyman, spent last year with the Tennessee Titans, 1-4 as a starter, didn't look great. Has spent the previous 4 years, he was with the Pittsburgh Steelers in a backup role, never really dominated or gave off that, I guess, appearance that he could be the starter for the long term. But I think what has happened when he went away, I think the Steelers have a greater appreciation for what Mason Rudolph brings to the table. Not as an elite player, but as the ultimate team guy, the guy who can be the game manager that this team needs to win using a throwback style of play. Meaning, when you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers and the way that they want to play ball, they want to play like it's the 1970s and 80s, because why not? Like, that's how they won in their eyes. The Pittsburgh Steelers were the team of the decade in the 70s because they ran the ball, they played great defense, and they got, opportunistic quarterback play from Terry Bradshaw, who's a Go Jacket guy. Even though they changed and they've transformed over the years, they had that run with Ben Roethlisberger where it was killer bees and they were throwing it all over the yard. They had dynamic running back and Le'Veon Bell and a playmaker and Antonio Brown. They still didn't win at the highest level operating like that. Yeah, like Ben Roethlisberger won 2 Super Bowls, but the first one is about the run game and the defense, because remember, that was Bus. And then the second time, it was about him making plays in a Super Bowl. But man, it was still a dominant defense that kind of led the way. Traditionally, when the Pittsburgh Steelers have been at their best, it has been about their defense first, the running game second, and then the quarterback making smart decisions with the ball, making enough plays for this team to get over the hump. When I think about Mason Rudolph, and I go back and I really dig deep in his playing history with the Pittsburgh Steelers, he's more than capable of doing that if he has the right stuff around him. Well, when I look at this team, the right stuff is there. Like, the defense is good. The defense has the potential to be a top 5 unit because that's what they always do. They always play at a high level. They've always played at a high level under Mike Tomlin. They have Defensive Player of the Year candidates in TJ Watt. They have playmakers in Micah Fitzpatrick. They have a young quarterback in Joey Porter Jr., who has lockdown potential. They got a bunch of young, hungry defenders in the front seven that can make things happen. And don't forget, you got the gray beard in Cam Hayward. So defensively, they should be fine. Running game, Najee Harris walks out the door, but this is a team that has really upgraded the offensive line the past few years. So it doesn't really matter who the RB1 is. They're going to find a way to be productive because the Steelers are going to commit to running the ball, particularly with Arthur Smith in the fold as the play caller. You go and get DK Metcalf, you reward him with a $30 million contract annually. That's going to allow him to be the number 1 receiver. And when you think about DK Metcalf and what DK Metcalf brings is he's someone that not only takes the top off the defense, but he is a big play specialist as a number one receiver. Fast, physical, doesn't mind mixing it up in the running game. That is going to create a different feel to this offense when it comes to how they want to approach it. Yes, they're going to continue to run it, but they have that big play threat on the outside who also doesn't mind getting his nose dirty in the running game. That's why Mason Rudolph can succeed as a QB1, because his primary job is going to be able to make sure to be able to continue to ensure that this team gets in the right play all the time at the line of scrimmage, that the run game is operating because he understands what he's doing and he checks to put the run game in a prime situation. But as a passer, he simply needs to manage the game and get the ball to the open receiver. And when I think about the two receivers, DK Metcalf and Pat Freiermuth, the tight end, they're going to have enough to operate off play action. Remember, Arthur Smith wants to run the football. He's always been committed to running the ball, going all the way back to what he did in Tennessee as an offensive coordinator, to how he wanted to run the ball in Atlanta and when he was the head coach for the Falcons. He wants to run the football. He wants to set up the quarterback to have big play chances off play action. And with DK Metcalf, with Pat Freiermuth being able to control the middle of the field and the deep part of the field, those chances are going to be there. But it's really up to Mason Rudolph. And I know, like I talked about it, like you guys snickered when we talked about Mason Rudolph. We look at a guy who has a 9-8-1 record, a guy who has a 63% completion rate throughout his career, 28 touchdowns, 20 interceptions. It doesn't stand out. But here's where you have to understand why the Steelers are fond of Mason Rudolph. Back in 2023, when they needed him to play at the end of the season, he rips off a 3-game winning streak for the Steelers. He completes over 74% of his passes. He has 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and he has a passer rating of 118. While I don't expect him to keep those numbers up while he's the starting quarterback over the course of a full season, I think what it does do is it shows the Pittsburgh Steelers that, hey, we can win. We've proven that we can win with him. We've proven that we can make him a very efficient player. Now let's see how we can do that over a 17-game season. To me, when they signed Mason Rudolph to this 2-year, $7.5 million deal to be the kind of QB1, QB2, they did it because they were confident enough that if they don't get a better option as the starter, Mason Rudolph can hold it down and they can win games and win a lot of games with him. Remember, in Pittsburgh, it's not about winning pretty. It's about winning. Mason Rudolph can give this team a chance to win. Not at the level that we always talk about. Are they a title contender and those things? No, but he certainly can be a playoff participant, a team that can create some headaches for problems based on the way that they play that ball control offense with a rugged defense. So I wouldn't dismiss the Pittsburgh Steelers' chances of winning with Mason Rudolph as QB1. Now let's talk about the New England Patriots and why I Bleav that they are a sleeping giant that could awaken in 2025. When we think about the Patriots, the last couple of years, we can talk about them being 4-13 last season of the Bill Belichick tenure, the first season and the only season of the Gerard Mayo tenure. Look, they didn't win a lot of games, and it was bad, and it was ugly last year. And all those things have kind of left a smudge on a franchise that we used to consider the pillar franchise in the league, because under Bill Belichick, they won 6 titles in 20-plus years. They were a team that was always in the hunt, always in contention because of the way that they played. I'm here to tell you that that way of playing is coming back under Mike Vrabel. And it won't look the same. It won't be exactly how Bill Belichick won, but it'd be close enough to conjure up some of those nightmares that really existed throughout the AFC East when the Patriots were the Patriots. When they took care of the ball, they didn't beat themselves, and they made it a tough game for you each and every week. When I look at Mike Vrabel and I look at what Mike Vrabel has done throughout his tenure as a head coach, he's a winner. He does a great job of doing more with less and finding a way to ugly the game up to always give his team a chance to win. Rarely did his teams have more talent than others in Tennessee, yet he's been able to kind of scratch out a 54-45 one-loss record as a coach. He's 2-3 in the postseason. He's won a Coach of the Year, and he's had a team that is a tough-minded, physical team that really makes it hard on you to operate. As a high IQ coach who knows all the ins and outs of the rule and game strategy, he is going to give the Patriots a chance to win, very similar to, I can't call him his mentor, but very similar to how his former head coach, Bill Belichick, did it in his heyday. But in Mike Vrabel, what you have is someone who's going to do it that way, but with his own touch. He is really committed to this team, teaching the players, developing those players, and then trying to get these players to connect with the coaches. He has done a really good job of, if you look at all of the clips that are circulating online, when you look at the peek behind the scenes that the Patriots social media team has allowed us, man, it's about the connectivity, the chemistry between the players and the coaches, everyone operating together. It's about him really challenging the team to raise the standard of play, where everything is about how hard they play and how they finish. It is about the effort. It's about finish. It's about being competitive and tough and all those things. And all those things are what we may call coaching cliches. But to me, when I look at Vrabel and I look at how his teams play, look, the team is a reflection of the coach. And I expect the Patriots to really reflect the grizzled image that you have when you look at Mike Vrabel. The other reason why I expect this team to operate is he has a better roster. The Patriots have flipped over 50% of their roster from what they had last year. They got rid of a lot of the old Bill Belichick players, and they've infused it with Mike Vrabel type guys. Tough, versatile, smart, high effort, high character guys that are going to change the energy and the electricity in the locker room, because you got I love it type guys, meaning they love the process, they love the work, they love all of the stuff that it takes to be a really good player. The other thing that they've done is the veterans that they brought in are guys that the pieces of the puzzle really fit together. And what I mean by that is, from a schematic standpoint, it works because Mike Vrabel covers, like we talked about the core, right? High energy, competitive, all that stuff. But it's also versatility, physicality, and all of that. And so when I look at what they've added, they brought some veterans in on defense that are like real hungry, real nasty, real get after it type guys. Milton Williams, Super Bowl standout, comes over, sounds a big deal to be the defensive tackle that they're counting on. They add Harold Landry to be a designated pass rusher that can get after it off the edge. Robert Spillane, an underrated player for the Las Vegas Raiders, who's a tackling machine who has great instincts, awareness, and toughness. Carlton Davis coming over from the Detroit Lions to give them that rough, rugged, grizzled veteran on the edge to help the young guys raise their level of play. Those guys are going to be important because defensively, they're going to force you to play in a phone booth, and you're going to feel like you've been in a street fight, a backyard brawl when you deal with the New England Patriots. That's the type of team that Mike Vrabel wants, and those veterans are going to help him get there. Offensively, people talk about the weapons and the firepower, but I'm going to say the biggest move that the Patriots made was bringing Stephon Diggs over to be their number one receiver with a Drake May. A few years ago, Stephon Diggs was acquired by the Buffalo Bills when they had a young quarterback in Josh Allen who was trying to find his way as a franchise quarterback. The only thing that Stephon Diggs did was reel off 4 straight 1,000-yard seasons, put up ridiculous numbers as the number one, and really helped foster the growth of Josh Allen, going from being a wildly talented gunslinger to being a guy that we can regard as an MVP candidate, even though he won the MVP after Diggs left. A lot of what Diggs did was help Josh Allen learn how to master the nuances of the position so that he could become the league MVP in 2024. Well, in Drake May, who has always used Josh Allen as a muse, you're now putting Stephon Diggs with a young quarterback who has those similarities to Josh Allen that you like. But with Diggs, you have a reliable, dependable pass catcher and route runner. You put that on the field, that is going to give more confidence to Drake May to not only play on time, but to be aggressive with some of those throws down the field when he's able to see Stephon Diggs on the perimeter. With Josh McDaniels coming over, because Mike Vrabel handpicked him to work with the quarterback after having so much success in 2 stints with the Patriots with Tom Brady and others, you want Josh McDaniels back in the fold to deal with that. You've also added a lot of interesting coaches to the mix. Thomas Brown coming over for Chicago Bears to be the pass game coordinator. Anyone who watched the Bears operate, this is a high character coach who's going to demand a lot. And you're going to have other coaches who are demanding a lot of a young team. To me, this goes to the brilliance of Mike Vrabel. You have to have the right coaches to get what you want out of the team. And so if you want a tough-minded, hard-nosed team, you got to have tough-minded, hard-nosed coaches. The Patriots have that. Not only in their assistants, but in the head man, which is why in Mike Vrabel I trust as the New England Patriots maybe become the dark horse team that sneaks into the postseason in his first year on the job in Foxborough. This week, we're going to wrap it up with the 2028 Olympics and flag football. So we heard word that flag football is going to be in the Olympics, and we also got word from the National Football League that they're going to allow NFL players to participate and try for the team. And so this is part of what I Bleav is going to be the NFL's global reach initiative, much like the Dream Team did for basketball and the NBA, making the NBA and basketball an international sport. Flag football could help the NFL expand its global reach and to make it a game that the world adores. We've already seen and heard Roger Goodell talk about eventually getting up to 16 international games where people from all over the world will have an opportunity to see NFL teams battle it out on their soil. That is not only going to increase the interest in the game, it's going to expand how many NFL fans we have around the world. Well, this is another opportunity to expand that reach, because you got to remember the Dream Team that we saw in the Olympics, the 92 Dream Team with Magic and Bird and Jordan and all those guys, it impacted the way that the world saw the game. And in those games, it wasn't competitive early, but what it did do, it ignited what we've seen in the NBA, where we've seen really a lot of international players come and dominate. I think the last 7 MVPs have been international players, which speaks volumes about the impact. While I don't think it will have that kind of impact in terms of the NFL game, in terms of the players that come in through the International Pathway Program, it will expand the global interest in the game. And when we think about the NFL being the king of kings when it comes to the business, the sports business, man, this is going to be highly successful and very a big financial windfall for the NFL's owners and players, because the more people that can fall in love with the game, any version of the game, flag, tackle, or whatever, it's only going to draw more people to not only watch the game, pay attention to the game, buy merchandise or whatever, but it's going to continue to increase the popularity of what is already the most popular sport in our country. When I think about it, I think about the NFL players that can have an impact and become global superstars. So your Tyreek Hill, your Justin Jeffersons, your Pat Mahomes, those guys who may have an opportunity to play on the flag team. It will only make those guys bigger stars than they already are. What it will also do is it will allow some other people to now become household names, not only domestically, but internationally, like if a Micah Parsons is able to play on the team, if some of these other guys like a Sauce Gardner or Pat Surtain or whatever are able to play. It only blows up and enhances what is already a great product in the National Football League. That's it. Won't be easy for the U.S. to win the flag football championships in a game that is nothing like the NFL game, but it will be fun to have some of that star power on a major stage in 2028 in LA, where everyone can blow it up and make it a big deal. It's one of the reasons why I'm excited about the NFL allowing their best players to play. This is going to be huge because it's going to lead to an expansion of the fandom that already exists around the game. That's going to lead a lot of young players to play the game in any form, tackle or flag. All football is football, and that's why it's such a great idea for the NFL to open its doors and allow their players, their top players, to play flag. So that's what we have today. That's the Bucky Brooks Show. Thanks so much for checking it out. Continue to support Bleav and all of my colleagues on the Bleav Network. A lot of cool things that are going on with the shows. guys that are representing their teams and talking about the team. So make sure you check out all the cool stuff that we have on the Bleav Network. Make sure you rate, review, subscribe to this podcast and other podcasts, because we are trying to make this network and these shows the best that they possibly can. Leave a comment. Let me know how I can improve. Let me know about some of the things that you want to talk about. I am more than willing to do that and engage our fan base as the show continues to grow. Until next time, I'm Bucky Brooks. Talk to you soon.